What up, Facebook, YouTube? And let me get Instagram in here. Let's see if I can get it in here. What's up, everybody? This is Fix My Fundamentals Live, where I teach a live a live lesson, depending on the concept and the topic. And you guys can call in with your questions, with your concerns, and I can help you out as much as possible. So I want to put in the chat the link to join the show if you're here live. So if you're here, say what up. Make sure you like the video so more people can see. All right, let's get my Instagram family in here. If you can hear me, put a number 1 in the chat. If you can hear me, is it clear? Is it good? What's the audio like? Nice. Waybist plays 1. Braylon, number 1. GQ, number 1. Cool arrows with the 2. What's up, Jake? Haven't seen you in a while, Jake. How you doing? All right, I'm trying to get this Instagram popping. But today, what we're going to talk about is how to improve our range with this simple exercise that I created for myself, really. And it's an approach that I had to really figure it out and like piece it together on my own. Only because during my junior year of college, I went through a terrible embouchure injury and a terrible embouchure, uh, and at the same time, an embouchure change. So at that point, I was ready to throw in the towel. If anyone has ever experienced that at all, if anyone has experienced the embouchure change, please put a number 1 in the chat. Say, and so we can share in the communal pain, right? Cool Arrow has been through one. All right, let's see. Let's get this Instagram live going. Hey, what's up, Instagram? We are live here with Facebook and YouTube. We're talking about how to increase our range with this simple, but not easy. It's simple, but not easy um, exercise that I created for myself. Waybis with the 299 super chat says, "Hey, I'm new, but you seem like a nice guy. Enjoy." Thank you so much for the 299 super chat, Waybis. Thank you so much. All right. So before we get started, we got everybody here. Before we get started, um, we got to do the book of the day. We got to do the book of the day and the album of the day. I try to at least read at least maybe 4 books a month. That's about a book a week, and I just go through it. But in this instance, I'm going to talk about a trumpet book that is very slept on, a trumpet book that is very slept on, and I recommend it highly for all my adult beginners. All my adult beginners. So if you're starting out and you just started, you just picked up the trumpet, you got your horn from Amazon, it's all ready to go. You don't know what to get. This is the book to get. However, however, it's a mystery book. It's a mystery book. If you want to figure out what that book is, I want you to go to my Patreon, and I'm gonna share this book, this mystery book, on my Patreon. So go to patreon.com/the Black Trumpeter. I highly recommend this book for adult beginners. Why? Because it's very systematic. Very systematic. It goes by lessons, and it's by very renowned cornet player. If my trumpet teachers know what I'm talking about, if they know who this is, if they can recognize the book. Oh, did a little peek there with the title. But I want you to go to and subscribe to my Patreon, patreon.com/ the Black Trumpeter. And what I'm going to do there is I've been recording play along tracks for my students because this book unfortunately doesn't have any play along recordings. And that's my only downside with this book. My only downside with this book is that it doesn't have any play along recordings, and it's hard for the beginner to really develop that sound if they're not constantly hearing it. So that's the book of the day. Go to my Patreon, patreon.com/ the Black Trumpeter to figure out what it is, and also get your hands on some play along tracks that I've been recording for all of my students. So my students know, if they're here, they know what book that is. All right. Cool. All right. The album of the day. The album of the day is Something New by Jerry Bergonzi. That's not the name of the album, but the album is called let's see, Standard Berg Standard Gonzi. Standard Gonzi. It's by the Modern Jazz Trio with Jerry Bergonzi. Jerry Bergonzi is a well-renowned jazz saxophonist, and I've been heavily listening to this album. It's like 40. It's only like 40 minutes long, and he's just playing standards, man, and it's killing. He has another one. This album came out recently, so it came out last month, June 15th, and he recorded another one back in 1991. So I was born in 1991, so that was 30 years ago, and it was an album of just all standards and him just blazing on them, and it sounds amazing. So check that out, Standard Gonzi, Gonzi. I don't have the album with me. I just been listening on Apple Music and Spotify, but go check that album out. It's a great one. I try to listen to uh, music at least 1 hour a day, because listening is also a part of practice, right? So I try to listen to at least an hour's worth, 1 hour's worth of music every day, just to fill up my ear, right? All right, so that was the book of the day, and that was the album of the day. Okay, so let's get into the topic for today. The topic for today is how to increase our range with this simple exercise, and I'm going to share it with y'all. Um, but before I get into that, I want to talk to you about why I developed this exercise for myself. The reason why I developed this exercise is because of I was going through a tough time. During my junior year, I had just gotten a new instrument, my first professional trumpet, and right at the end of the year, I think it was 2012, 2013, I got the new trumpet and I went crazy. I went crazy with just practicing because I was so excited. Um, and and so one night I practiced for so long. I put the horn away. My lips were just, they felt terrible. I played for hours with no break. I played high notes. I played everything. Just went crazy on the horn. So I put it down. I felt really good. So I wake up the next morning, and I try to warm up, and I can't play anything like it. And plus, the top of my lip burns. Like I can't even play a low C without my top lip burning and stinging like needles hitting the flesh, right? So I was like, what? Maybe I just need to just rest. And I had a hard day of practicing the night before. Maybe I'll just rest for this day and I'll come back the following day. Luckily it was a weekend, right? So that day came, and still pins and needles, even playing low C. I tried to cool down, I tried to play soft, and nothing worked, right? Long story short, um, I injured myself. and I got what was called a wind embrasion on my top lip. A wind embrasion, meaning that I blew the wind so fast that it like it's. Have you ever got like a rug burn? Like you trip and fail and you got a rug burn. That's what it's equivalent. So I got a wind embrasion, a wind burn on my lip. And why did that happen? That happened for two reasons. That happened, one, I was playing carelessly, and I was playing too loud. I was playing and not taking a break, and I practiced far beyond fatigue. And you never want to do that. Never want to do that. You don't want to practice beyond fatigue. You want to practice up to the point of where you feel a little bit, and then you take a break, right? So that's what happened. The second reason is my embouchure. My embouchure was too low, so that's why I got like 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 my embouchure was jacked up. My embouchure was jacked up. Blow by Blow says I did that until recently. I was even tiring myself in the warm up. Yeah, we don't want to tire ourselves out in the warm up. And so my my not only was I practicing recklessly, my embouchure was messed up and it was too low. And that's how I got the wind abrasion. So I said to myself, and so I thought to myself, and so I was already going through embouchure change with my applied teacher in college. I went to Illinois State University. Go Redbirds! And we had been working on this like all year, just trying to get the mouthpiece up, but it wasn't up enough. But I didn't realize that till much later. So right after spring semester had ended, it was going into the summer, and I had juries, I had all types of stuff at the end of the year to still do, and I still sounded like crap, right? So um, I was ready to give up at that point. I was like, I tried so hard to, try to be my best, practice as much as I could, try to catch up with all the other trumpet players in the studio. I always felt like I was the worst. I probably was. I probably wasn't, but in my mind, I felt like the worst in the studio. But I wanted to try so hard to be good. So so the summer came and I was faced with two things in my mind. I was faced with two things. I either try to build my embouchure up and build my playing back up to be ready for August, to be ready for next school year in August. This is June, beginning of June. And that's the first option. I build myself back up, and I'm ready for August. I'm ready for marching band, right? I'm ready for auditions, for chair placement and ensemble placement, right? Or number two, I just quit. I quit music education. I quit the trumpet. I go and figure out a trade. I go back home, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would actually probably get a trade still. But even though I would quit, I would pack up the horn and never touch it again because I had put too much effort into the into it and then come to this conclusion where I can't play at all. And I'm back to square one. Anyone that has been back to square one after playing for maybe 10 plus years, that's really devastating to your mental capacity, your your everything. So I was really depressed at that moment, right? So I was like, okay, um, I'm back at square one. I'm a beginner. I can hardly play a G, and it sounds like this. It sounds like that. After all that work I've done, after all that practicing, I blew it after one practice session in the practice room being careless. And I'm back to this, right? I'm back to that. So I was like, I can't go back to Dr. G's studio sounding like this. If I do, I'm not picking up the trumpet again. So what did I do? I took all the lessons that I remember about all the fundamentals that Dr. Amy Gilreath Major, shout out to Dr. Amy Gilreath Major, back back in Illinois State. I think she's not there anymore. She's retired, but she's a part of Stiletto Brass. If you guys know that quintet, that brass ensemble, Stiletto Brass, and so um, she gave me pretty much all of the fundamentals I could ever imagine to really set me up for success. And so after all those lessons and all those master classes, I put it all together and tried my best to incorporate all those things to build myself back up. And usually the summertime is when I do that, or it's of course during the year, but I have more time during the summer. Shout out to the 26 people watching. There's 23 combined on YouTube and Facebook, and there's 3 people on Instagram. So shout out. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, share it, and yeah, do all that great stuff so we can get this to more people. The reason why I'm telling this story is to set up the exercise, because if I just show you the exercise, you're going to be like, that's it? Yeah, that's it. Because I mean, it's really important to really know where I'm coming from with this exercise, right? So, um, one of the lessons that I remember is is her talking about starting with the air, starting the tone with a breath attack. Starting the tone with the breath attack. This isn't the exercise, by the way. This isn't the exercise, by the way, but starting the note with the air instead of the tongue. Why? With, why do we want to start the note with the air? Because that's going to set us up and not allow us to rely on the tongue to start the note. That's going to set us up to be able to play the note without using the tongue. The tongue is a little bit of a cheat, right? So if you don't have the right air, if you don't have the right air and you're doing air attack, you can either overshoot it or undershoot the note. You can be too tight, you can be too loose. So starting out with the air is going to be a great test of how you use your tongue level and how you use your air for each and every single note. So I was like, okay, I need to be able to start the note with air. However, I sounded like garbage. So I knew that I could not worry about my tone at this time, because if I worried about tone, I would just give up right then and there, because tone, I didn't have tone anymore. I couldn't rely on my good tone that I had developed since I started, right? So I had to rely on feeling, on the approach, not on tone. So tone was not in my lane, in my focus. It was getting the response, making sure that I can make a sound easily. I'm not talking about a good sound, I'm just talking about a sound. And make that feel easy, and it didn't hurt my embouchure, right? So starting out with starting out with the air, right? Because every note sounded like this. And I was trying to play a low C. And I was trying to play a G in the staff. Has anyone been there? Has anyone been there where you sounded like that? say I've been there if that's where you're at, right? So so that was realization, if I'm saying it right, number one. Realization number two was I in order to build my range, I can't play lip slurs because I can't. Jelani says, I am there. Yeah, I get it. Nice. Jonathan on Instagram says, I've been there, right? Jake says, yeah, I'm a survivor of this and was such a weird feeling. Right. We all know what it's like to be at the to play your first note as a beginner. It does not sound good. And it won't sound good for a very long time. It won't sound good for a very long time. And that's okay. That's all right. As long as you have a good teacher that lets you know the process. Okay, so here's my next realization. The first one was I need to start all my notes, be able to start easily with a breath attack. The second realization is that I need to be able to build my range in an easy fashion. And it has to start from an easy place. So, what's the easiest thing I can do on the trumpet, um, interval wise? It's not playing lip slurs because that's out the window because I can hardly play a G. I can't play this. I can't play that to build my range. I can't even play an arpeggio. That's out the window. So what do? I can't play a scale. Oh, my third valve tuning slide. I can't do that because my range is shot, and even playing seconds, playing major seconds is an issue because I'm doing this. I'm doing that. So what's the next best thing? What's the next best thing? The half step. Half steps. In Western music, that's the smallest interval in Western music is the half step. So I was like, okay, if I can play a half step, I can then play a major second. If I can play a major second, I can play a minor third and then just build from there. Right? So, what do I work on? That's mainly half steps. What do I work on? The chromatic scale. And not just the chromatic scale as it is in one octave, because again, I can't play an entire octave. I can't do that. I'm sounding like this. I'm sounding like that, trying to play a chromatic scale. So you can really wonder, you can really put the pieces together and come to a conclusion as to why I really want to quit. If I can't play a half step, what can I play? Because that should be the easiest thing I play. So here's the exercise. The exercise is being able to play, and I call this, and my patrons know this. I call this the 6 levels exercise. My students that are taking lessons with me know about this exercise, but I'm saying it publicly now. The 6 levels exercise, 6 levels. And so what that is this. That's level 1. And so level 2, level 3, level 4, Level 5, level 6, 6 levels. However, what I did was I only focused on one level at a time and only the notes that were in that level. However, I didn't worry about sound. I didn't worry about tone, but I made my focus the response of the note. If I can get the sound, get the note to sound, that was a win. So on each note in each level, I did this. So for the first level, there's C, C sharp, D, D sharp, 4 notes. Oh, and E, 5 notes. C, C sharp, D sharp, E, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Blow by Blow says, like Clark, number one. Exactly. What does Clark start with on in his book in the technical studies? He starts out with the half step and then he goes on from there. However, I can't play the first exercise. I can't play the first exercise in study number 1. I can't do that because it starts on low F sharp. I can hardly play. I can't play anything higher than a G in the staff, and I can't play anything lower than a low C. So I start on low C and I work my way up. I don't work my way down. I work my way down later, but I work my way up. Right? So I start on low C and I only worry about the notes that are in level 1. And so in level 1, I do this. I start out with air. On each note, I start out with air and then I bring my lips together, the middle of my lips, until my lips want to vibrate. Because the premise here is I'm not trying to make my lips vibrate. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to allow my lips to vibrate. Because when I allow my lips to vibrate, I have greater freedom. I have greater flexibility. I have my the ease of playing is much greater if I just allow my lips to vibrate rather than make them vibrate. So I'm not really a lip buzzer. That's not me. If you like lip buzzing, that's cool, but I'm more so give the instrument air or wind. Bring the lips together and allow the lips to vibrate by themselves, by the air that you give it. Does that make sense? So on each note, on C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and E, I make sure that the response is there. I'm able to make the sound. It doesn't have to be pretty. It can be airy, it can be whatever. But I want the response. So I start out with air, bring the lips closer together until they vibrate. Right? So I do that on each and every note. So C sharp now. I know I'm out of tune. It's cold down here. That's why I'm wearing this sweater. Now D, ooh, it's really flat. Now D, well, don't worry about the sound, like I said before. Now D, 1 and 3. Start out with air, and then bring the lips together slowly until they want to vibrate on their own. Don't make it vibrate. Right? Then D sharp, and then E. I did that. And here's the reason why I don't do lip buzzing. Because during my time with this, my injury, I could not lip buzz because it hurt like hell to do it. I can only do what did not hurt. If it hurt, I meant I was doing something wrong. And that was the greatest indicator of how I play trumpet. If the middle of my lip burned when I played, that meant my embouchure was not right. My mouthpiece was too low, and I had to make sure it was up. Right. So the the instant I felt pain, I was like, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. So unfortunately and fortunately, you don't have to go through that, but you have to create your own indicator of what is right and wrong. Right? But that's what I did for each and every single level that I was on until I was able to do this. Bring all the notes together. However, I started with air first, brought the lips together, and then started. That's what I did. That's what I did. And how long did I do that for? Each day I could only practice for 5 minutes at a time. So I did this 3 times a day, anywhere from once to 3 times a day, just working on that, just working on the response of the note, making sure it's nice and free and it feels easy. Two, that the transition between each note is nice and smooth. And if you're a beginner, that's really difficult because here's what happens. If your embouchure is not correct, if your embouchure is is not optimum, you're doing a lot of crazy stuff with tension in your neck, or you're too closed off in the middle. It's not gonna sound smooth. It's gonna either be airy or there's gonna be some blips, some blops, some sploops, some splops. So something like it's gonna sound like that if you're too tight. Now, if you're too loose, then it's gonna be really airy and it's not gonna sound smooth from note to note. So, what I did was I did level one, I did each level until I was able to do it at a soft dynamic and it was smooth from beginning to end. Because if you can play it smoothly at a soft dynamic, you got it. You have it. You have that note. You have mastered that note. It's not enough to say, "Oh, I can play it," but the only way you play it is loud. If you can only play it loud, you don't got it. Because fortunately in music, you have to play loud and soft. You have to play loud and soft. So you have to have a wide range of tonal colors on each and every single note. That's our job as musicians. So if you can play it loud, that doesn't mean you can automatically play it soft. But if you can play it soft, you can definitely play it loud. But it's hard. It's difficult. But it's not impossible. You can play a C above the staff semi quietly. That was pretty quiet, even though it's a C above the staff. I have mastery over that note because it's soft. I'm not killing myself to play that note. So that's the goal. And the reason why I say this is simple and not easy, because you're gonna get bored with this for sure. And it's gonna take some patience. And are you gonna continue with it? It depends on how much patience you have with this. And that's the exercise. That's the exercise. So I went from one, but then what do you do? What do you do then? if you master one level. You play the next level and you do the same process again. Each and every single note in that level, you need to be able to, if you want to write this down, you need to be able to play it softly and be able to start it with just air, with just the air tag. Those were my requirements. Those were my requirements for myself. Because if I play too loudly, again, that pain would come. That pain would come to my embouchure if I play too loud. And then also too, that would tell me like, okay, well, my embouchure isn't right. I got to move my mouthpiece up. Right? So with doing this, you're only dealing with half steps. So you don't really have to worry about tongue arch or tongue level too much until you get further up. But mostly you just gotta you if you don't know your chromatic scale, please practice the chromatic scale because that's the most important scale that you should know. And to be able to do this, you have to know your chromatic scale. There's no way around it. Right? So for each level, be able to play it soft and be able to start on a breath attack. And then if you have two levels or more, connect them together. And you want to be able to maneuver between those two levels smoothly, like butter, like like peanut butter. It should be that smooth. It should be smooth. Was that perfect? Probably not perfect, but it was pretty good. That's what you want. So don't worry about the sound too much, especially if you're beginning right now. Don't worry about the sound. If it's airy, that's fine. If it airs on the side of airy, that's fine. I just want you to focus on the response and the feeling of the note, right? How does that make sense so far? I know there's people jumping in and out, but let me know if all that makes sense so far. So to recap, what you need to do on each level is be able to start the note, each and singular note, with a breath attack. And after you do that, make sure that all those notes that you play, they are they are smooth and connected. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You gotta be objective with it. Is it smooth or is it not? Right? Because it does it feel good or does it not? Does it feel easy or not? These are the questions that I had to ask myself. I had to be objective. So uh, after you get one level, you do the second level. Once you get that and master that, you just add on the level. You add on the level, and it's really that simple. It's really that simple. You add on the next level. So let's do level. Let's add three levels. And that's an octave. That's an octave. And as a beginner, if you can play an octave, you're in good shape. You're in good shape. Playing an octave is really difficult when you're a beginner on trumpet. But if you can do that, you can play all those notes in between low C and C in the staff cleanly, smooth. Your fingers are right. You can play it soft and it feels easy. You have mastery over the horn in that octave. So, again, or not again, but I want to really emphasize if you're at a particular level, C, let's say C to E, right? Figure out the songs or figure out some things that you can play in that level. Like little bitty songs like I can't even think about it. What's hot cross buns? Hot cross buns, right? You only play songs, you only play repertoire that you are able to master within that level. Don't play anything outside of that at all because you really want what you want to do is um really emphasize the notes that you could already play so you can get better at it. You don't want to try to reach and try to squeeze the notes that you really can't play yet. Only play the notes that you're comfortable with for now on that level. Once you get to the next level, then find some songs that are within that range. But don't go any higher, don't go any lower. That was the restrictions I put on myself to keep myself sane in this process. And so I did that every single day, for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes a day. I'm not talking about 2 hour practice here. I'm talking about really focused 5 minutes at a time, if that. And then I go on about my day, play some video games, read a book, you know, watch something on TV, um, eat whatever, you know. But it's really that simple. 6 levels exercises. The 6 levels, that's the name of the exercise. We're only using the chromatic scale. And then once you got an octave, you're good. You can play music that's within an octave, you know. So just keep adding the level and don't go on to the next level until you master it and it feels easy and you can play breath attacks on each and every note in that level. So let me recap for people that are just coming in. Level 1, you're playing the chromatic notes from low C to E. So we're essentially outlining an augmented triad. Well, we're outlining an augmented triad, and we're just playing the chromatic notes in between the thirds. So C and E, low C and E, that's one level. E to G sharp, that's the next level, level 2. G sharp to C in the staff, that's level 3. C to E, that's level 4. Now E 4 space E. E to G sharp above the staff, that's level 5. G sharp to C above the staff, that's level 6. You combine all that, you have a 2 octave chromatic scale. Two-octave chromatic scale. And so I did this every single day, focusing on one thing at a time, one level at a time, until August came around and I was able to play above the staff cleanly. It was smooth. It was it was everything. I had developed a new embouchure that was way better than the embouchure I had before. I could play higher. I could play for longer. My endurance was better than the previous embouchure that I had. And therefore, I did not quit. That's where we come to today. So it's a very simple exercise, but it's really on it really tests your patience. It tests your ability to be objective. It tests your ability to persevere, because trumpet, this thing here is all about, it's all about the mental. It's all about, like, 95% of it is mental. If you can get that right, you can play trumpet at whatever level that you want. But if you get the mental, if you don't have the right mental approach to it, you will struggle for a very long time. So, any questions so far? I know I talked a lot, and I'm gonna have people call in. I know Jake is on standby, but I want to really help some people out during this call. So, if anyone have any questions, if anyone wants me to take a listen to them play, or whatever, I'll put the the link again in the chat. If you're here on Instagram, go ahead and request to join. Let's see. What did Amy say when you came back stronger? Now here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. Remember what I said about the mental is like 95%. Now, again, my mental wasn't right. I was still scared out of my mind, to perform in lessons. I had terrible performance anxiety, so I would practice my butt off for the auditions, and I would sound so good. But as soon as I stepped my butt out onto that stage to play the rep, it all came crumbling down. So I had to. So that was the next step after my development, was really developing an approach that made me mentally strong to perform. So she didn't really say anything because I was back to my normal self. Because then again, I told you again, like, although I was, my technique was better all around, I still had performance anxiety that was holding me back. So she didn't say anything. um, but um, that's when the real work came in, though. That's when I was able to, start working on my senior recital, and that's when I was able to practice and do the work that I always dreamed of doing. And at the end of that year, after I finished my undergrad with my senior recital, during the recital, I cried because I was listening to myself as if I was in the audience, and I heard myself playing so great. Everything felt great. Everything sounded great. I was like, man, this is what I had been searching for all this time. So it wasn't until I literally dug myself out of the gutter and really then, trumpet wise, and then fixed my performance anxiety issues, I was able to really get going and really improve my technique and performance abilities. So, yeah, but yeah, blow by blow. I'm just realizing that every time I play sloppily, I'm just reinforcing sloppy technique. Yeah, so it's all about playing slowly and really listening and being aware of what you're doing. Cool Arrow says, congrats. That's called letting go. Yeah, man. I was in the zone. I was in the zone for that recital. Denver says, yes, I suffer with anxiety as well. All right. So I'm going to open it up. So for people that are here on Instagram, Facebook, and Instagram, go ahead and request to come in. I'm putting the link in the chat. We got Jake in the waiting room. I'm gonna hit you up real quick, real fast, and then I want to dive into the call-in portion of the show. We got my man here, Lawango. Hopefully, I'm saying your name right, my man. I'm sorry. He says, any tips on improving breathing and airflow? That's an excellent question. One, I have so many tips for that. The first thing is how how do we breathe? And I got the if you know this person, if you know this educator, this is where I stole it from. The question is how do we breathe? And the answer is in the question. How how do so if we can get that right, making sure we're breathing an open syllable, how, and then release that air with do, with the do syllable, do. That's tip number one. Tip number two is really understanding that when we breathe, it's a two-step process rather than a three-step process. When we breathe, we shouldn't breathe in, hold, and breathe out, because that slight hold, even no matter how fast or how slight it is going to create a lot of tension in our chest, in our neck, and in our trumpet playing. So practice a two-step breath. Air is always moving, either in or out. It's never being held. Right? That's tip number three. Uh, tip number no, tip number two. Tip number three is breathe in time. Breathe in time. Uh, breathe in time and think of everything as a long tone. Uh, if you think everything is a long tone, then all the notes are just going to float on top of the airstream. So breathe in time, meaning if you have a quarter note, an eighth note, a half note, make sure it's in time and you take in the breath that's needed, only as needed. Don't take in too much and don't take in too less. And then lastly is think about everything you play is a long tone. That's why long tones are so important. Everything you play is a long tone. No matter how fast, no matter how many notes you play, it's a long tone. It's a straight line approach. Hopefully that makes sense. He says, "Oh wow, quick, profound answer. How do?" Thank you. No problem. I stole that from his name is Mickey Smith Jr. Mickey Smith Jr. Mickey Smith Jr. He's a Grammy award-winning educator, and that's where I stole it from. How do? The question is how do. The answer is how do. How do you breathe? All right, Jake, you ready? I'm gonna get to Jake, and then I'm gonna get to HI high 153 and some other numbers. I gotta plug in my laptop because that's about to die. We don't want that now. That would just be awful. Shout out to all the 16 people here on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you like the video and share the video. Please, please, please. It helps me out. It helps the channel out, get out to more people. So please like the video and share the video. What's up, Jake? Let's see. Can we hear you? I might have to get some other headphones. Oh, we lost Jake. Let's see if we can get to somebody else in that time. Anyone else? Someone on Instagram want to come on screen? Somebody on Instagram? Hi. Hi 153 want to come on, come in and join the show. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Just click the link and you'll be able to come in on the live. You don't need any fancy software or nothing. Just click the link and it'll be on the browser on your phone. So make sure you mute Facebook and YouTube while we're on the show, or else there's going to be some feedback. All right, let's see if there's any questions. Here's a question. Denver on Facebook. What advice do you have for keeping the lip space open enough to keep the vibration and airflow continuous? What advice do you have for keeping the lip space open enough? The answer is how you know that is just by the response to your air. So start out with air, right? So so make your aperture really big or really wide till you're just blowing air. And make sure it's open enough to where there's no vibration happening. And then I want you to slowly bring the middle of the lips, your aperture, together until they want to vibrate. And so once you find that vibration where that is, memorize that feeling. Really, like you gotta really be all in it. You gotta memorize the feeling of that note. There's no way around it. It's just by feel. But one way to figure out where the notes should be for that note, start out with air, slowly bring the lips together until they want to vibrate and make that note that you want. That will allow you to realize how open your how open or how closed your or how big or how small your aperture needs to be for that note. Is that cool? And then play long tones. He also said, I have problems keeping my lips open enough. Uh, you probably you're probably too tight. You're probably too tight. Like if it's like that, if it's like really tight, or if you're getting open enough. I don't know. Come on here. Come on the show. I want to I can't really I can only do much with just reading your text and reading your response. I would love to hear you and see what you're doing. Hear and see what you're doing. Oh, we got Jake. He's back on. All right. Let's get him back on.
Hello, hi.
Hello, hello.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. What's up, Jake? Welcome to the Official Fundamentals show.
Hello, hi, yeah, good to be here.
Nice. Oh, 1 second. If you're on Instagram and I know you can't hear because I got earphones in, but if you are on Instagram, go ahead and go to youtube.com/the Black Trumpeter or click the link in my bio to hear the back and forth or stay on and he just hear my side. All right, Jake, what's up?
Hi, yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Just been listening to, yeah, ooh, I might be a bit louder. I've just been listening to some of the stuff you were saying about kind of the chromatic thing.
Um,
I don't know, it sounds a bit like difficult, I guess. But yeah.
oh, which part?
Well, kind of all of it. But yeah, I'll give it a go.
Okay.
I keep on missing notes as well.
Right. So anytime I teach this, that's the barrier, right? We got to know our chromatics. So try that. Just one note at
Hmm.
a time. Play slowly.
Okay.
C sharp, D, one and three, which is D. One and three, that's one and two.
Uh, oh, sorry. Yeah.
No pressure. Yep. Then two and three, that's one and two. Yep. Then one and two. All right. Let's start from low C. Low C. Start from low C. Open. One, two, and three. One and three. Two and three. One and two. And then go
Uh,
backwards. One and two.
okay, yeah.
Two and three. One and three. One, two, and three. Open. Right.
Uh,
So memorize that. Work on that.
hmm,
Because you don't
yeah,
want to.
definitely.
So for this, you when we do this, I don't want to think about my fingers when I do that. I
Hmm,
don't want to think about each and every single note. I want to think about the sound that I'm creating and the sound that I want. I don't want to think about
okay.
fingers. So do I say do some work on the chromatic scale in that level just so you memorize it, it's feeling good, and you don't have to worry about your fingers. One thing you can do today, right now, is worry about the response of each note.
Okay.
Can you play it with a breath attack?
Hmm.
So not starting with the tongue. Try that for me.
Yeah, that is hard.
I know. So first, wait. So first, start with just air. So don't make a sound.
Okay.
So like this. Check it out. Just blow air. Is it really that loud, y'all? Let me see. Let me turn it down. See if I
Uh,
turn it down.
sorry, I'm in an echoey room.
It's okay. All right.
But like breath more.
Yeah. So just blow air. Still form your embouchure. Still form your embouchure. Just blow air, and then slowly bring the middle of your lips together until they want to play. To you want to play the other side. Yeah. Try it again. Start off with air. Bring the lips together slowly. sharp and do the same thing. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Same thing on D. Same thing, but doing on D. Good, 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 good. Give me 50% less value. So like play piano.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the hard part.
Yeah, no. That is difficult. I'll try.
Try your best.
Um, was that lower? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that was good. That was
Sounded a
good.
bit.
All right,
Uh,
now do D sharp 2 and 3.
uh,
Start out with air first. Start out with air first, and slowly bring the lips together. Do. That's the pitch that you're going for. Do. Cool, cool, cool. You got the pitch. Now start out with air. Bring the lips together.
okay.
Cool. So make sure that your aperture is is flexible and relaxed because you're getting
Okay.
like you're getting a slight bit of double buzz or that little like
Mm,
crackly sound before you kind of settled into the note. This
yeah.
is too tight. So relax the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. It's too relaxed. But that's the right idea. That's the right idea.
Mm.
Back it
Yeah,
up
I
a
know.
little
It's
bit.
like there's like a bit in the middle, isn't there? That is like what you need to get.
Okay, cool. So you're getting that low A flat before you play it. I want you to
Mm.
focus a little bit more on tongue level. Bring that tongue level up to maybe uh instead of ooh, bring it up to ah. Ah
Okay.
instead of
Mm.
ah.
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we
that's it.
go.
That's it. That's it. Now let's do our last note, E.
hmm
1 and 2. Same thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's what
more
you want.
familiar with that note.
That's fine, but that sounds really good. Now the thing is just bridging all those notes together. Again, you gotta learn the finger combination and get that together. But once you do, you want to sound like this. Again, we're going to start off with air. Bring the lips together. And again, if I didn't mention this, we're slurring everything. We're not tonguing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yay.
Fair.
All right. So
Yeah.
I would say for now, practice just getting the response of each note until you're very comfortable with the finger combination, and then start the exercise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no,
Any other
definitely.
questions before we go? Before I get to the next thing?
No, no, that was awesome. Thank you.
Excellent, man. Jake,
Cool, dude.
you take it easy, man.
Yeah, you too. Speak soon.
All right,
Cheers,
man.
buddy.
Hopefully.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So the question is like, and that's very common. So anytime I do introduce this exercise to a beginner, the barrier is just knowing the finger combination. However, once you know it, it's only 5 notes. So once you know it, then you're good. And all you got to do then is just work on the response and the sound that you want. We got Andy here on YouTube saying, "Thank you, Aaron, for taking the time to teach a very important subject in trumpet playing." No problem, Andy and everybody. If you're enjoying this video, enjoying the show, either here on Instagram or here on YouTube and Facebook, please go ahead and like the video, share the video with your friends, somebody that, or a trumpet buddy, or somebody you know that plays trumpet, somebody you know, or who may want to pick it up. Show this video to them, show my channel to them, share it so we can get more people on this train. I want a lot of trumpet players in this world because it's a beautiful and great instrument to play. I don't want to hear any more stories. Oh, I used to play trumpet. I don't play trumpet no more. I don't want to hear that anymore. I don't want to hear that. I'm so used to hearing that. I'm tired of it. I want to get to a place where, yeah, I play trumpet and I still play it and it's awesome, right? No matter you don't have to be a professional. You don't have to be someone that's majoring in music. You don't have to, you know, to enjoy playing music on on trumpet, right? So I want to make it accessible to as many people as possible, right? Any other questions? I had some. How's my sound? Is it? I know we have some sound issues. Hopefully that's it's better. Let's see if I got any more questions. Edward on YouTube says, "How do you know when you found the best mouthpiece? I was playing with the 7C, but I can play higher and longer with the 5C. So of course I switched." Well, I mean, you answered the question in and of itself. You answered it right there, Edward. But it's all about um, now. Again, I am not. I'm the not the best person to ask about equipment. So that is not my expertise. But what I can tell you is that seems like you found the mouthpiece for you, and that's the answer: is find something that's going to help you play the things you want to play easily, and it gives you the sound that you want, and it just makes life easier. So try a lot of stuff. Try a lot of horns. Try a lot of mouthpieces. Get a feel for what you like, and see what pops. And then that's the right one for you. Now, I'm not in the camp that believes that you should only have one mouthpiece. I do believe you need multiple mouthpieces for the right job, or multiple horns for the right job, right? So if you're in a salsa band and you're playing crazy high notes all night, you're going to need some equipment to help you out because you're going to pass out after one song, right? So I'm all about getting the right piece, the right instrument for the job that you want to do. Um, but however, my the caveat to that for me is that you got to make sure that your fundamentals are in order. You got to make sure that your technique is solid, because I don't want people to rely mainly on equipment, because there's people out there playing $100 horns. There's people out there playing $20,000 horns. And yes, there's a difference in quality. However, there's people out there that's killing it on $100 horn, and you wouldn't know because they practice like crazy. They understand the instrument they understand themselves and the instrument at a fundamental level, right? It's not it's not solely on the equipment. I'm more so get your fundamentals together, get your technique together, get your mental state together playing this instrument, and the the equipment is just a plus. Equipment is just a plus. If you can find a good piece that helps you out with what you want to do, that's just a plus. But fundamentals first, technique first. Find the right tool for the job. All right, just looking through the comments here, looking for some questions. By blow again. You have any advice on mouthpiece selection? Again, find um, if you're. It's all a personal thing. It's all a personal thing. Just because I play a 3C doesn't mean that you should play a 3C. Just because someone else plays a Shilky 12B doesn't mean another person should. It's all about the feeling. So it's all about what do you want to sound like? What and does it make your job easier? There's no such thing as a cheater mouthpiece, by the way. There's nothing there's nothing cheat about that because the audience doesn't care about the instrument you play. They don't care about the equipment you play. They care about can you make this music sound good? The person that's hiring you, if you're on a amateur or professional level, they don't care what you play. They just want to make sure you can do the job well. Now, I mean, when you go into, I hear when you go into some orchestral situations, maybe you want to combine the right horn and mouthpiece mix because you don't want to sound too big. You don't want to sound too much out there if you're playing in a section. You want to make sure that that's together. However, most of us aren't playing like that. Most of us want to play for fun, right? You just want to play for fun. You want to play. You want to go to a jam session. You want to go to your buddy's house and play some music. That's the realization. That's the life that most of my subscribers here on YouTube. That's where they're at. Henry Cooper says, not about the mouthpiece or the trumpet. It's about the fundamentals and creating sound that builds you. Um, there's some. There was a debate on Facebook in one of the many trumpet Facebook groups um, about equipment versus fundamentals, or equipment isn't that important. I believe fundamentals come first. That's what I believe. Equipment comes second. Hence why the the name of the show is Fix My Fundamentals, not fix my instrument or fix fix my trumpet, fix my mouthpiece. I couldn't do that if I tried, but still I can give some tips on some fundamentals. All right. All right. Any other questions? Anyone that wants to get up on the live? Let's see if some questions in on the back end. Gotcha. So we got Joe. Joe, I don't know if you're still here, but he has a question. I'm a beginner in having trouble switching from one note to another. Am I supposed to arch my tongue as notes get higher? Essentially, yes. That's the idea. Um, with depending on how you sound, switching from one note to the next. If, say, for instance, you're airballing, like you get this. If you're airballing like that, trying to go from C to D, that means your aperture is way too wide. And you just got to focus the aperture just a little bit. Now, if you're sounding like this, then there's a couple things. Your aperture, your the middle of your lips are too tight, and your tongue level is either too low or too high. Now, if you're overshooting the pitch, then your tongue level is too high for that particular note. If your tongue level is too, if you're undershooting the note, like you're going flat a lot, or you're hitting the lower partial of that note or that fingering, then your tongue level is too low. So you just gotta adjust the tongue level like a knob on the radio. Just adjust it for that particular note. But yes, you want to arch your tongue. E, say E as in pizza. It's a spectrum. It's not hard. It's not hard like milestones here. It's a spectrum of ooh, ah, e. It can be anywhere in here. You just gotta find the right tongue placement or tongue level for that particular note. And I talk about that earlier in this video about starting out with air, bring the lips together, and then figuring out what note that you need, what air you need, and what tongue level you need. Excuse me. All right, we got somebody on Instagram. Harvey. What up to everybody on Instagram?
Hello.
Hey Harvey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right, man. I appreciate you taking me on here. I'm actually working, but I play the trumpet.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, but the question I have is on that exercise you were talking about.
Okay.
Because it's pretty much sounds like I'm playing the chromatic scale, but I'm just taking it note at a time.
Yeah, so you're taking it note at a time at first, and then you're taking the notes in that level. So
Right.
so for level one, it's C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E.
Because I actually have my mouthpiece with me here.
Okay. So and then you're going to just play those notes smoothly together. Um, you do need a trumpet for this though. The only
Yeah,
reason
yeah.
why I say you need a trumpet for it because we have to play the fingerings, right?
Right.
Um, but if you're on your free time and you want to do some buzzing, that's also good ear training as well. So,
Right.
dog.
Okay.
Right? So you can do that.
Right.
Buzzing the half steps in between. If you don't have your trumpet on you, all you got is your mouthpiece. That's a great ear training exercise for sure. Yeah.
Now, I had sent you the DM about the private lessons, so
Yeah.
I think I'm interested in that. So I'm gonna go online and check your schedule out. What days do you normally do the lessons?
It's so this link that I sent you, it's a scheduling app. So
Right.
whatever times that you see that's on there, that's when I'm free. So you can pick any time that's available
Okay.
on that site.
All right.
Yeah.
Solid. I'm gonna get to that probably this evening when I get off of work, and we can go from there.
Dope. That sounds good, man.
Sure. All right. Do you play the flugelhorn?
I do. I have it right here.
Yeah. Okay. Because I have a fugal, then I have B flat trumpet. Man, the C trumpet. What's the difference? I mean, I guess it would be higher.
The C trumpet, the difference is the transposition.
Right.
So what? So the notes that you see on the page, that's what's different.
Right.
So for instance, if my B flat trumpet and I'm playing a G on the page, my C trumpet is going to sound like a F.
Right.
It's going to and it's going to sound a major second lower,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because it's the same fingering. It uses the same fingering. But if my B flat trumpet plays the G, I'm playing I'm playing concert F. That's what's coming out of my horn on a B flat trumpet. But if I switch to a C trumpet and I play that G, um, it's playing concert G. So is going to be I'm going to my B flat trumpet is going to play A. It's going to sound A. That's the note that's going to come out if the C trumpet is playing G,
G.
as if the B flat trumpet is playing A. Transposition is I'm terrible at trying to explain it, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it just pretty much a half step up or a whole step up.
Whole step. So the B flat trumpet is a whole step up from C concert.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Okay. Because I've been playing since 2012,
yeah,
and I can play about 10 songs. The melody, like my favorite, is "Come Sunday."
yep.
Child is born. God bless the child. But I really haven't tried the solo on those things.
Okay.
So I really want to start trying to at least solo because I pretty much know all the chord changes. I
Oh, I
just
mean, if you know the chord changes, that's great. That's half the battle, man.
yeah, yeah. Plus I can play the pentatonics too on the horn. So just want to get to the point where I can at least start soloing.
Excellent.
I mean nothing complex, but just a simple form, measure something. I don't know.
Just be able to play what's in your head, right?
Right,
And that's really
right,
difficult to do on trumpet because a lot of things a lot of the thing that happens when we try to improvise is that we have to hear it first. It's not like we can just press these and they magically come out. You know,
right,
we actually have to think of the note and really try our best to play that note and not any other note. So
right,
what ends up happening is that we as trumpet players we have to drill a lot more stuff and
right,
drill it a lot more so it becomes second nature.
right, right,
Um, and then all we have to do is think about what we want to play and then it comes out. But we have to practice it first. It's
right,
not pure improvisation. It's things we've heard before.
right,
But
right.
but yeah.
All right, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking me on, and I'm gonna definitely get on that scheduling app, and we'll link up.
All right, Harvey, man. I look forward to working with you and I'll see you, man.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Bye. All right, folks. Let's see what y'all talking about in the chat. So you guys are talking about the equipment and stuff like that. I am very ignorant about equipment. Edward Edward Johnson says, I know a warm up is important, but should there be a cool down as well? Yeah, there should be a cool down if you have time for it. Mostly, anytime I do a cool down, that's after if I've really worked really hard, or say if I played a really long gig that night or day, and my chops are really feeling tired, then I do a cool down just to focus my chops more because as we get tired, our our chops, our aperture wants to go like this, wants to expand and get big. So that cool down, I'm trying my best to just make sure everything is nice and focused for that next day. And sometime that cool down needs to be extended to the next day. Um, that next day you need to really focus on bringing that aperture size back down so that you're not getting so much airiness in your sound. um, so a cool down could be anywhere from doing like low chromatics, or that can be pedal tones, Doing pedal tones has helped me kind of really focus the aperture and focus the embouchure. So a warm up is very important. Cool down, I only do that kind of when as needed. Um, because how I practice, I don't practice uh, until I get fatigued. I practice until I feel the fatigue coming on, then I rest. Um, so that's why most times I don't, 9 times out of 10 I don't need a cool down because I'm not practicing until I get tired. You guys are talking about nice. You guys are talking about equipment. Any other questions? I'm trying my best to search. What's up, Richie48 on Instagram? Innocent. How do I tongue in the correct way? Um, I actually talk about this in the last episode show about fixing articulation. So check out the last show about articulation, how to cleanly articulate. And that only comes down to uh like three practice techniques. And I talk about those three practice techniques that will really clean up your articulation. One being uh one being why can't I think? Why am I drawing a blank? Uh Air attacks or wind patterns. That's what I call it. Wind patterns. Wind patterns, target practice, and um like what do I call it? Articulation spectrum. Wind patterns, target practice, articulation spectrum. So those are the three practice techniques I recommend. If you want to figure out what those are, go ahead and check out uh, the last two videos on my channel. The last two channels talking about articulation. All right. How important are pedal tones? Do they help build range? Yeah, they help build range. In my experience and in my thought process of pedal tones, they require the same, almost the same. What's cool about pedal tones is that like they need fast air. Like in my mind, I think about pedal tones the as the same way I think about the upper register, wind wise, speed wise. Like I need to blow faster to allow my lips to vibrate at those low frequencies. However, the caveat to that is I gotta blow. I gotta blow slow, and the amount of air is more. So I don't know. It's a balancing act, but for me, I have done pedal tones to help build my range only as a way to kind of cool down, after I do like my high register practice. Um, so if I'm doing a lot of high register practice, then I do my pedal tones to really help me focus the the aperture. I don't know. Someone else who plays trumpet and does pedal tones. What's your thought about pedal tones? Do you believe that they help build range? If they do, tell me why. If they don't, tell me why not. But I've done pedal tones to help me kind of balance out playing the upper register, and if I'm playing that a lot. Hopefully that makes sense. Glenn Glenn O'Connor says, "What exactly are pedal tones? Low C and down?" No, pedal tones are the notes that are below um, our actual note that we can play. So the lowest note that the trumpet can really play that's written is the low F sharp. That's really our lowest note on the instrument. But you can play pedal tones. Pedal tones are below that low F sharp. I haven't really come across any music that has a that made me play, or actually that's a lie. But I haven't come across a ton of music. I came across one piece in our college studio master class um, on flugel, and we were playing a somewhat of a ballad, and our part had like low Fs in it or low E's in it, like pedal Fs and pedal E's. And but it's a lot easier on the flugelhorn to play pedal notes if you haven't tried it. So I definitely um, recommend you guys try if you have a flugelhorn to play pedal tones on the flugelhorn. Um, it's a lot easier on the flugel than the trumpet. But other than that, me personally, I haven't come across any music that really comes that is lower than G in the staff. So, but that's not to say that you shouldn't practice pedal tones or lower or notes lower than that. That's just I'm just throwing that out there. Glenn O'Connor again says a book I'm using is Rubank's Elementary and Intermediate. I believe also used those 50 plus years ago in junior high. Yeah, that's that's a legendary book. But at the beginning of the show, I introduce. I actually don't introduce it because it's a mystery book. But I'm gonna reveal that book in my Patreon. Go to patreon.com/the Black Trumpeter and figure out what book I'm talking about. It's a very good book for adult beginners or comeback players to go from complete beginner to like advanced intermediate. So it's very systematic. It's very step by step, and I've been using that book in my studio with all my students. And the only downside I have to say about it is that it does it doesn't come with any play along recordings. So what I've been doing is recording my own play along recordings for that book, and I'm going to share it on my Patreon. All right. So go to patreon.com/the Black Trumpeter if you want to cop that. Devin on Instagram says, I've definitely felt some changes working on pedal tones in my upper register. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you say you love it. Yeah, I love it too. Like it for me, if every time I work on the pedal register, it makes for some reason, some magical reason. I don't know the physics. I don't know why, but my upper register is more powerful, more focused. Once I go back up there, but I use the pedals only as a way to as a cool down, as a cool down after I kind of I've played up there a lot. Bill says, is the mellophone more like trumpet or French horn? The mellophone is more like French horn. uh which horn is it? It's more like, I think there's B flat mellophones and F mellophones, but they're configured like a big build, a really thick trumpet. It has a big bell, and it has valves, I believe, as valves, right? Innocent says, I'm a self-taught player, but most time I don't even know what to practice. Please, anything to help. Uh, I mean, depending on how long you've been playing, what your level is, what you're able to play right now, there's a myriad of things I can suggest. However, fundamentals are fundamentals. So long term. So if you let me gather my thoughts. So if you're a self-taught trumpet player, you need to be focusing on these things, on these aspects of trumpet playing each and every single day. You should have an exercise for each one of these categories to help you build your technique. So, what are these categories? The first category is long tones. So, find a nice long tone exercise to practice. Next is flexibility, a flex or lip slurs or tongue slurs, however you want to think about it. Find a tongue slur exercise, right? That's appropriate for you. And then you want to find our articulation exercise, single tonguing, where it introduces single tonguing. Um, and once you feel comfortable with that and you want to do some double tonguing, that comes into play. So long tones, flexibility, lip slurs, tongue slurs, articulation. Next is scales. So work on your major scales. If you don't know all 12 of your major scales, go ahead and work on that in one octave. Be able to play all 12 major scales in one octave. If you can do that, then go on to two octaves, all 12 major keys, right? And then once you're done with that, do minor scales, all one octave, then two octaves, and then go on to uh, diminished scales if you want to get into that, right? So long tones, tongue slurs, articulation, scales, arpeggios, major, minor, augmented, diminished, dominant, arpeggios. Those types of arpeggios, major, augmented, minor, diminished, dominant, right? So we have five things. Finger dexterity. However, finger dexterity and range and endurance, those three categories, that's encompassed through those other things that I said. Um, you shouldn't you shouldn't think about range in and of itself being a separate thing. You should practice range your throughout your maintenance routine and throughout um your your musical routine, right? And I stole that from Sean Jones, and he talks about the maintenance routine and then his musical routine. He doesn't think about range as a separate thing. He thinks about the trumpet as just all one thing. Just like how you see a piano, a pianist isn't thinking about, oh, I got to think about playing up there. It's all one thing. It's all one concept. So when you practice the appropriate range for your level. Practice pieces that are within your range. Practice etudes that are within your range, and that kind of helps um, like stretches you out a little bit, either with the frequency of the top notes that you have to play, or maybe it's just a half step above what you can play, right? So let me recap: long tones, tongue slurs, uh, articulation, scales, arpeggios. Those are the 5 things we should practice every single day. Now, there's others, like there's people like to do separate range exercises, finger dexterity exercises, endurance exercises. However, if you all that can be consolidated into any one of those other 5 categories. So for me, it's not really a matter of practicing those things by themselves. It's just a matter of incorporating those things into those 5 things that I mentioned. So innocent, go to my YouTube page for the previous lesson. Go to youtube.com/the black trumpeter, and you will find 200 plus lessons of trumpet stuff, of things to practice, um, warm up routines, things like that. Cool. All right, folks. If there's no other questions, if there's no one else that wants to jump in on the the show, so I can help you all or help somebody else with their range issues, I can call it. But here's the link on Facebook and YouTube if you want to join the show. It's all you got to do is click the link, and you don't have to download anything to come on. Or we got Hamp Trumpet here on Instagram. Edward Johnson, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. There's Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. Share this video. Hello, welcome to Fix My Fundamentals show.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
It's fine. Was I supposed to join in like this? I'm not sure if I.
Oh no, that's fine. We're on Instagram. You can join on Instagram. Yeah, it's
All
cool.
right, cool.
What's your question?
So, kind of, I'm not, I don't actively play as much as I used to.
That's okay.
But one of my biggest, I guess, concerns with range was I've always kind of gotten up to like an E flat F. It's about as high as I've ever been able to really manage
Right.
in any kind of respectable way.
Okay.
And even those without much consistency. A lot of, and I'm not really sure what the issue is. If it's more of a pressure thing or just airflow and kind of what what's kind of causing the disconnect there.
Okay.
And my son is also a trumpet player as well. He can't join right now, but that was kind of his question as well. Kind of have the same issue, which is kind of interesting. But um, that's kind of what his question was like. You know, what can you do to kind of get past that? It's almost like I don't know, like a ceiling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like trying to get the right mix of pressure and air, and people say, well, fast air. It's like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. That's a great question. And it's very common with people learning the trumpet. That E F D, that part right here, those notes, that kills all types of trumpet players at first, because it's really a break. Um, all instruments
I mean, the E. I'm talking about above C.
above high C.
Above high C, yeah. So that's yeah. So I'm like, mid range. That's not a big deal. But it's like,
Oh, okay.
above high C. So C, the D, E flat, and F. Those are can be pitched out. And sometimes sound pretty decent, but most of the time it's kind of not quite where it needs to be. So I mean, it's kind of above high C.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I'm glad you clarified that, because that's very important to know the difference. Because people, when you talk to beginners, they'll say high C or high E, and they're talking about the notes in the staff, right?
Right.
But when you talk to people that can play higher than that, then it's not really high. It's
Right.
right. But yeah, so when you Do you have your horn on you?
I don't have it right with me at this moment. I mean, I can go grab it, but I don't have it.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't expect it to jump in like this.
Well, here's some things to kind of really take to consider is when you're practicing, whenever you do practice, do you practice up to those notes often?
Not as much as I should.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's a frustration point.
Okay.
So I end up not doing as much probably as I should. That's maybe one of the underlying reasons right there. But yeah.
Gotcha. So I've been there and I'm working on that range as well. It's not as full as I want it to be. However, um, it's just a matter of knowing the technique to go up there and playing, at least trying to play up there as much as humanly possible. Because the pursuit of playing those notes is going to get you up there, even if you airball it. As long as you have the approach and the mindset to get it, to go for it, then your body will be like, okay, this is what you want to do. Okay, let's do that then.
Right.
But you have to do it. You have to do it every day. You have to go for it every day. So even in my warm up, I go to those notes.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid to go to those notes in my warm up only because I know how to not hurt myself doing it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I know how to remain relaxed, especially in the chest area, in the neck, and all that. So I really recommend if you are going to if you are expanding your range, you need to do that even in your warm up. Um, so do that with expansion exercises like right. This is even though that's a very fast. I don't do that in my warm up. It's very slow, like whole notes, half notes. But I do that in my warm up to just be able to like stretch out. Even if I airball on it, my
Yeah.
I want the approach to be the same.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So do that in your warm up. Also practice scales. Go up there. Don't be afraid to go up there with your scales. So if you're playing your C major scale, go up to those notes. Go up to those notes that you're trying to expand to. Um, even your arpeggios. Take everything up there. Play music. My high school private teacher, his name is Larry Bowen. Rest in peace. He's not with us. However, he gave me this trick of if you want to work on your range, buy some buy tenor saxophone music because they have notes above the staff. And so if you read it as is, you're going to be playing A's, C's, E's, F's, all up in the upper register more
Yeah.
often. So he would have me work on tenor can't speak tenor tenor saxophone music
Yeah.
to be able to hit those notes up there and
All right.
see them and recognize the sound.
Right. And that's another thing that just being able to recognize where you are in that range. When you're there, if you're at a B flat, E flat, just kind of getting all that, hearing it. So
Oh, that's a great. Here's another tip: is if you're trying to hear it, do octave slurs. So play the octave below it, and do that for each and every one. You can do it clean like that, or you can do it as a glissando, where you're playing all the notes in between. So
Gotcha.
you can even start lower. Like try to hit all the partials in between, just so you get um, the tongue level approach. Like you're able to hit every single partial in between.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate it, my friend.
All right, no problem, man.
All right.
Take care. All right, y'all. Very good questions. We're going on 2 hours here, which is cool. Excuse me. All right, blow by blow. Why do I get some of the in between notes when I do the lip slur exercise? Um, the reason being, you get the in between notes is because whatever everything that we do, it has to be done in time. Everything is done in time and mechanically. So if we're trying to do octave slurs, if we're trying to do octave slurs, then those two movements from the low note to the highest note, that has to be done in time. Do, e, and on a dime. What happens when you get those notes in between? The tongue is lazy. The tongue is and it's getting all those notes in between. But you need to memorize the feeling of each note, and then try it like a target practice thing, where you're going from and try to make the switch happen quicker. Hopefully that makes sense. But you got to memorize both how the tongue level for each note, and then just try to do it in time. All right. Innocent says, "How long should I practice on a daily basis?" Uh, that is very. It depends. It depends on where you're at right now. If you're a beginner, then 15, 20, 30 minutes, if that. 15, 15 minutes is good for anybody. But uh, only do as much as you can. So if you feel like you get tired after 20 minutes, maybe practice just for 15 minutes, and then do more sessions throughout the day. So it's not like you're playing for 15 minutes and that's it. So if you want to get in more practice, like minutes wise, then put in more sessions to do that. So have a morning session, 15 minutes, afternoon, 15 minutes, evening, 15 minutes. And you've practiced more. You've practiced, what's that, 45 minutes that day. Doing that is much better than sitting in one spot for 45 minutes and getting distracted or getting way too tired because you're playing for 45 minutes straight, right? So depending on your endurance, that's, I would say, if you get tired after 20 minutes, scale that back to 5 or 10 minutes and only practice 10 minutes in that session. If you don't feel tired until you play like an hour, split that up. Either split that up within that hour, and you're playing half that time. Maybe the half you're listening, you're jotting down notes, you're listening to your past practice sessions, all that type of stuff. But it's really an individual thing, and it's to be honest, it's really not about the minutes. It's about the quality time, the quality of your practice, because you can spend an hour, you can spend an hour in the practice room, and you and get nothing accomplished. I've been there plenty of times. Or you can spend a very succinct, like very concise 5, 15 minutes on something very specific, and you get so much done. It might be one thing, but that's better than playing for 2 hours and messing around and not really getting anything done. We're just wasting time. Cool. Arrows says, what is a good range for beginner, intermediate, and advanced students? So you want me to break that down for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. The exercise that I broke down today is good for all three of those levels. It's good for everybody, because I can guarantee um, people in those categories can benefit from being able to play those notes better. So if by better meaning they feel easier and you can play them at a soft dynamic. So what I covered today, that's great for beginners, intermediate, advanced. The Now, if you're trying to go to intermediate and advanced, then I suggest that you not think about the range as a separate entity, but I need you to approach everything that you do in your entire range that you can play. So if you're an intermediate player, you can play from low F sharp to G above the staff. Everything that you do needs to be within that range. Everything, scales, arpeggios, long tones, music, etudes, sight reading. You need to be able to play those notes because it's all about consistency. It's all about consistency. Douglas Douglas Vincent says, please, I'm a beginner. I practice the 8 notes. What's next? Not sure what that means, my man. Blow by blow. We've all been there, man. This is really good advice. I've used to practice for hours every day without getting much better. Yeah, me too. That's where I'm at for a myriad of reasons, but not really being focused on what do I want to accomplish today? Like what's the goal? And then like have that written down and then work towards it. I'm getting better with writing down everything that I practice, but to me that just slows me down a little bit. I don't really keep a practice journal. I just like write notes. I always have paper, but I don't really write down, okay, today I'm going to do Clark's at 90 BPM and then tomorrow I'm going to do 95 BPM. No. My practicing is a little bit more organic than that. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's just not how I practice. Like I don't really need a tally. You know if you got something and you don't. It's really so for me I do. But again, if I going on 2 hours here, I'm gonna wrap it up. Still got 14 people watching, 15 people watching. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, this is a decent show for you all to learn and grow and practice from. And if it is, go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't already. Go ahead and share this video if you haven't already, please, to help the channel grow. Trying to get to 50K, trying to get to 50K subscribers. Help me get there. Share my stuff, subscribe, all that good stuff. Smash that like button like all the YouTubers say, right? Blow by blow by blow says, does he mean the C major scale? I don't know what I don't know. I'm not sure. Douglas says, I can play from low to middle C. I don't know the next step. So I I actually explained that earlier. As far as the next step is going to the next set of notes. So if you can play middle C, if you can play those low notes, go up, keep going. A good way to a good way to figure out what the next step is in your range is to ask yourself this question: can I play all 12 major scales in one octave cleanly and easily? If you can do that, then the next step is, okay, let's do 2 octaves. Can I do 2 octaves cleanly and easily? And then just keep going. I mean, there's no rule to how high you can go. You can go as high as you want to. There's no limit on the trumpet, high wise. So start with scales. If you don't know where to go, start with scales. Be able to play all 12 major scales in one octave, and then be able to do it in two. Separating warm up, technical exercises, and standards has really helped. Yeah. So, as far as like structuring your practice, have I think Sean Jones also talks about this. Is he has this thing called a maintenance routine, where he goes over his fundamentals, long tones, tongue slurs, finger dexterity, scales, arpeggios, um, preparation to his second routine, where he does classical repertoire. Uh, and I heard him talk about this in one of like a master class on YouTube, and he mentions this. Like the maintenance routine is the setup for the the classical routine, because this instrument is based on the classical tradition. So a lot of that pedagogy is in the repertoire of classical music. So like the Arbans, and other, Chickowitz and other books, right? So maintenance routine, classical repertoire, right? And then he does jazz. That's what he said. So if you do jazz, then I would say I would follow that format: maintenance slash fundamentals, classical, and then jazz. Working on tunes, working on improvisation, working on patterns, working on concepts. So yeah, always a big help, Aaron. No problem, no problem, y'all. AV Gaming, does an old trumpet have a better sound on a new? I have no idea. I'm not the person to ask about equipment, trumpets, or anything. Ask me about like fundamentals, like how do I get a better sound? How do I get uh, uh, better articulation, better low notes? How do I breathe correctly? How do How do I play scales? How do I practice? How do I warm up? How do I cool down? How do I uh, work on my how do I work on my performance anxiety? How do I There's so many things to work on fundamentals wise and mind wise. I don't really specialize in equipment just yet, but I would say uh, I'm not your man when it comes to equipment. What's the right mouthpiece? What lead pipe should I use? What trumpet should I use? Should I use it? Does lacquer matter? Should I do raw brass? I have no idea. And I'm going to be totally honest, totally transparent. I have no idea. But ask me about fundamentals, and I got you. I got you on fundamentals for sure. I'm going to stay in my lane. Cool. Blow by blow says F in 2 octaves is tricky. Yeah, it is tricky. It can be done. It can be done. Top Tones, if you know that book. For all my, actually, this is a great book for advanced players who want to work on their range. Top Tones. I got books all over the place. I thought I had it. Where is it? It's somewhere around here. Top Tones. Top Tones is a great book. I'm actually working on that if I can find it. My place is kind of a mess right now. Somewhere around here. But it works on that register, the F and G above the register. It gives you etudes that help you play above the staff. So if you don't want to purchase tenor sax music, then Top Tones is a good resource, just trumpet wise, because those etudes are specifically engineered for range building to get you more consistent in the upper register. Bow by Blow says 1 key a day or one exercise in all 12 keys a day. Woof. Excuse me. I would say, I would, man, if you can, 1 key a month. There's so many things you can do in a major scale. There's so many things you could do in the key. Yeah, John Roberts says Top Tones for the Trumpet. That's the book. I can't find it. It's somewhere around here on the floor. But I would say, man, the more comfortable you can get in a key, do think about all types of patterns and ways to play a key. Like if you think about it, there's any key can be a difficult key depending on the pattern you apply to it. But to answer your question in a more serious manner, during my undergrad, we had technique exams, right? So I would say if you're learning your major scales, try to learn them within 3 months. 3 months is a good time. 16 weeks, right? 16 weeks is plenty of time to get comfortable in all 12 keys. And so what should you work on? What should you work on with those major scales? You should work on first playing, if you can play the scale up and down in 1 octave, then in 2, Work on scales in thirds. Can you play it in thirds? Can you play it in fourths? Can you play it in fifths? Uh, can you apply one pattern to it in like this? Can you do? Can you apply like a pattern to it? Or can you play it in diatonic triads? Can you play it like that? Can you play it in diatonic seventh chords? Yikes. I don't know why I'm struggling with that, but can you do that? Apparently, I need to work on that more. There's so much you can do on a scale. Um, and no key is hard. Uh, at a slow tempo, they're all easy. Everything's easy at 60 BPM at whole notes or half notes. So it can be done. But a really cool way during my undergrad, one way that, let's say you have all your major scales down, you can play them. You can play them in a variety of patterns, but you want to kind of switch it up. One way I would switch up my practice is to prepare for my technique exam, because this is what happened at the end of the semester. Um, Dr. G would have us pick from a hat, and it will have the note names of C sharp, F, E flat, all that, and it will all be in a bucket, and then we would choose. Okay, you got C. Now what you need to do, you need to play C major 2 octaves. You need to play it in thirds. You need to play it in fourths. You need to play it. What else? What she have us do? Yeah, I think that was it. Oh, you also need to play the minor. No. She did that separate. So the minor keys were separate from the major keys. So thirds, fourths, and 2 octaves, right? So what I would do is in my practice, I would replicate the whole process. Get a bucket. I had a plastic bag, and I had note cards with the note names on them, and I would just pick one, and that's the key I'm going to work on. That's the key, no matter what. No matter what. If I got F sharp, I'm working on F sharp. 2 octaves. Uh, in thirds, in fourths, in fifths, and then I'm going to play the relative minor in thirds, in fourths, and the the diminished the correlated diminished arpeggio. Man, so you can make practicing fun like that. Like, okay, have there's probably software you can make your own note cards and have it randomly generated, and then that's the key that you practice for the day. That's a cool way. That's a cool way to practice too. I've done that. Um, Either way, you got to get it done. You got to get these scales under your fingers. Uh, no, so so yeah. Man, this has been fun, guys. I'm surprised there's so many people here. But there's no more comments, no more questions, no more anything. I'm going to peace out. I got to eat some lunch or late lunch. uh, this this show this show was all about range and my ability to build it from scratch using just a chromatic scale, but in a specific way and approach called the 6 levels. And I did that in 3 months. I went from not being able to play anything to being able to play above the staff easily in 3 months. Just based on everything that I learned, I've been taught, and everything. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for being here live, and the people that are here and you're watching this 2.5 hour lesson. Thank you for being here. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. Tell your buddies. I'm trying to get to 50K, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.